Good morning. After Christmas, we have a Christmas week that was shortened in trading to 4 days, but actually mostly gains across the board in commodities. Corn up 6.25 cents for the week. Soybeans up 13 cents. Chicago Board of Trade wheat up nine and a quarter. And Minneapolis wheat up one and a quarter cents. So gains across the board in the grain markets. Outside of the grains in agriculture, fat cattle down $1.15 to one market that saw some losses, but the feeder cattle gained $1.02 for the week. And the outstanding markets here, we had gold rallying $165 for the week. Silver, even bigger gains, up 9.707. So significant gains there in the silver market. Crude oil up 0.22 cents and the dollar down 0.564. Is there a relationship here? The dollar declining and most of the commodities going higher for the week. And look at these significantly. Gold and silver up significantly. Many tie the gold and silver rally to the uh, basically the dissing of the dollar when the United States was freezing those Russian assets, basically. Many countries around the world, China, India, Russia, buying gold and silver or instead of US debt. So they're putting their currency in US dollars. Corn is actually, if you look at these trends, though, corn market is holding its uptrend, some decent gains this week. We are holding this uptrend of higher lows across the board, even higher highs if we make a new higher high in this run. So corn is in a beginning and emerging stages of a bull market, but it's very slow, very methodical. Basically, this goes back to mid-August. We've gained maybe, 40 cents in a matter of what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So a very slow rally, but a rally nonetheless. In the soybean market, ironically, soybeans had a big bull run while the government was shut down. We had no information on soybeans. The yields were disappointing. Of course, the government still doesn't have the final number on soybean yields, but look at this. We're holding that uptrend on the lows in soybeans. So that is very interesting, despite this technical head and shoulders potential top. But that might just be an intermediate top. We are just still in an emerging bull market for soybeans. It actually goes back about a year or more. So a slow emerging bull market in soybeans as well. Wheat market, we went to new lows recently, had some gains this week. The wheat market fundamentally does not have good fundamentals, but it's possible we bounced above that recent low. Maybe the wheat market has some strength as well. And this is Minneapolis wheat also making new lows, but bouncing above that. Maybe the wheat market finally is done. That is the one drag on the bull market of the grains has been the wheat market. Live cattle rallied back. We actually gained back half of our losses from the most recent high to the most recent low. But we're still sitting in below this gap. Actually, from a technical standpoint, selling, spec trading, shorting cattle at this 230 area with a stop above the previous high is probably, above a tier 250. You've got what, a $30 to $20 stop, but actually the potential is, of course, to gain back to these old lows as well. In the feeder cattle market rallied back here, kind of losing its momentum after this significant drop from 280 down to, from 380 down to 300. And now we've bounced back, gained half of it back. Maybe not a bad technical place to sell short the feeder cattle with a stop above the old high with a liquidation objective down here at those lows. Probably a pretty good odds of success, but you are fighting against some other markets. This silver market, probably the star, gained almost, what is it, $9, about 14%. this week in the four short trading days, we've gone very quickly from 55 to nearly $80 for silver in just a few short weeks. Basically, just broke above that at the end of November. In less than a month, we've gone up, 60% in silver. Silver has had periods in the history of gold. In a period of 2 years or less, the gold market has gone up 4 times its previous price. But silver is even more stark. The silver market has gone up as much as 8 times its previous high in a matter of 2 or 3 years or less. So the possibility in these precious metals is big. Here's that gold market. When we got to 4,200, we doubled the previous high in a year and a half. We are now running to new highs. This week we ran to new recent highs in gold above that previous 4,400 mark. So gold is also in new high territory. Gold has doubled its previous all-time high at 2,100, but gold has done 3 and 4 times that all-time high in a matter of just a few years in the past. So these markets don't look like they're done yet. Of course, like I mentioned, gold and silver rallying, part of that was the whole idea of freezing. Most of the world was holding currency in terms of dollars. China owning a lot of U.S. debt in terms of dollars. And when the United States made the foolish move of seizing the Russian assets, basically stealing other people's money deposited in U.S. banks, what a disaster that may have created. But it has freed up the gold and silver market to rally as other countries are using metals instead of the dollar. And of course, here's the dollar. We had a double bottom here, rallied back a bit, but the market is finding some weakness. Here is the beginning of Doge and Trump's election in January. And obviously, Doge didn't do anything to trim the deficit. We have now 37 trillion in debt. We seized other countries' assets. They're going away from the dollar. The dollar could be in some serious trouble. And of course, if that debt gets out of control, you could have, like a lot of countries that have failed in, fiscal austerity, they just can't stop spending money. And that's typically a politician. You get elected by spending money, having great prosperity. You just want to create this artificial prosperity. That's happening in the United States now. And that becomes a problem. Eventually, people lose confidence in your currency. And then you have very high inflation. And it has to be very high interest rates. And you need austerity, which is not popular. Nobody gets elected with austerity. And of course, that's why politicians can't solve debt problems, because until they become huge and unbearable, and the pain becomes unbearable. So maybe we have this US dollar heading for a decline. We do have crude oil, though, valued in US dollars at all-time lows here at $56. This is a few times we've tested that area. The question is, can we break below that? If we solve that Russian Ukraine war, it's possible Russian energy will flow into the world. So a lot of interesting things happening. Grains showing some strength this past week. Really, we're at the beginning of a bottom, and we're just rallying out of it, starting an uptrend. You can hardly even tell. And, if you've suffered through recent soybean price losses, you wonder, is there really a bull market or not? But actually, if you look at the charts, you actually do have higher lows and mostly higher highs throughout corn and soybeans anyway. So, look at what's happening in gold and silver, some huge market rallies. It's possible the measuring stick of all of these commodities in terms of dollar is going to be the issue. That measuring stick may decline significantly just because of this debt and the dollar confidence problem. So we'll see how that goes. It has been a good Christmas, and I want to wish everyone a happy New Year, and of course, good marketing.